Is the screen visible to you? The screen that I have shared.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, thank you. See, in the first unit, we have certain other text as well regarding the background of this particular chapter, that is, or this particular course, that is English literature written in India or Indian English literature. So those texts are there in block one related to B.R. Ambedkar, and we also have one educational, treatise in the first unit. I didn't get those treaties yet because I am right now at home in West Bengal, so I didn't able to collect that. So that's why a few chapters had been sent to me by the HOD of Brow English department. So based on that, I am taking this class. So today we are going to talk about three of the important texts from block 2, unit probably unit 2, 3, and 4, or maybe unit 8, 9, and 10. Okay, where you will find a beautiful text like Train to Pakistan. Then you will also find another text that is Untouchable, written by Mulk Raj Anand. And the other text is a short story written by Ismat Chugtai, a feminist Urdu poet and writer and screenwriter. It is The Quilt. Okay. So we are basically going to talk about these three texts today and the critical overview of that particular text. So the first text that we are going to talk about is Train to Pakistan. I hope that okay, you have heard of this particular title, that is Train to Pakistan. Have you ever heard of this title?
Yes, we heard about it.
Yeah. So how many of you have any idea regarding, do you know what is partition literature, or what should be the theme, or what should be the plot line of any kind of text written based on partition? And when we are talking about partition, which partition we are mentioning?
It's about India and Pakistan partition after we got independence. So people who were living in Pakistan were forced to come to India. I mean, the non-Muslims. And then from India, the non-Hindus were forced to move to Pakistan.
Pakistan, right? So there was a big or huge riots between mutual communities. Okay, so that's the cracks of this particular text. It's a historical novel. It reflects back to the time of our partition of 1947 and before that as well. And this particular text has been written by a famous writer, Khushwant Singh. Okay, born as a Khushal Singh in 2nd February 1915, during the time of the First World War, when the First World War started. Okay, so he was born during that time. He experienced the First World War, he experienced the Second World War, and then he experienced the partition of India. Okay, so all these events, great events of the world, had a great impact on the mind of the writer, that is Khushwant Singh, and he compiled all these experiences, bloody and shadowy experiences, into a particular novel or a story, that is Train to Pakistan, where he had reflected all these traumas of the war, of the riots, dangals, and all these things. Okay, so he was, at that time, he was an Indian writer or a man who born in India, but right now, that part where he was born is in Pakistan. Okay, so Khushwant Singh was an Indian author, lawyer, diplomat, journalist, and politician. His experience in the 1947 partition of India inspired him to write Train to Pakistan in 1956, which later on made into a film. And because of this particular novel, he got famous throughout the world. Okay, so in this particular course, we have some of the seminal works that has been chosen for this particular course, which are reflecting the uh, which are the one text of one particular genre or one particular field that is talking about the entire genre or entire field of that particular category. As for example, if I'm taking about partition literature, so Train to Pakistan is one of the seminal work into that particular genre. Okay, if I'm talking about Urdu literature or short stories that has been converted or translated into English, so Ismat Choghtai's The Quilt is one of such dominant work into that particular genre or area. So this kind of text has been taken. Another text is like Untouchable. Untouchable is one such beautiful text about which B. Ambedkar has spoken a lot of things regarding our caste system. Okay, so we are also going to talk about that one after completing this one. So let's have an overview of the theme and also the plot of this particular novel, Train to Pakistan. Okay. The novel has been narrated in such a way where you will find throw and back story line over here, where the narrator is talking and sometimes also had a kind of stream of consciousness where his thoughts are floating from past to future and then again in the present. So this is how he has narrated the story. And let's see what is the story over here. So the Train to Pakistan is a 1956 historical novel by Indian novelist Khuswant Singh. It was set in the mid of the partition's time, that is 1947, that created the nations of Pakistan and India. It focuses on the way partition impacted the people in the ground. So I didn't use any kind of image over here. I could also use some of the images that has been also picturized or used in that in the cover page of that particular books and also in the film. I could have use some of the characters photograph over here. So there are many characters through which a different aspect, not a single good aspect of partition, but all of them are bad aspects. Those had hampered our lifestyle, our thinking process, and everything. So those aspects has been picturized and also delineated beautifully using different characters over here in this particular novel. So focusing on the lives of ordinary citizens as they were torn from their homes, Train to Pakistan brings a human dimensions to one of the bloodiest periods in the history of the two countries. So when you are talking about Train to Pakistan, there is also a famous and beautiful novel written by Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. You might have heard of that novel. A Tale of Two Cities also have a similar kind of aspect, but that is not so much severe like this one. Historically, that is also important, but this particular novel is much more severe and bloodiest than that one. Before the 1947 partition, see, according to many of the newspaper journals like the Hindu once said that okay, the partition during the partition, most of the Hindus had to suffer, but like Telegraph and other journals are saying that okay, not only the Hindus, Muslims had also suffer, or Muslim had also been killed by the Hindus, and Hindus were also being killed by the Muslims during that time. But these were not the only two caste or religion of which people were killed. Other people were also being killed and tortured, raped, and murdered during that time. So the key point to remember is that never be generalized in such a way where you are citing one particular aspect or one particular coterie or caste or gender. So if you are reading a text, be a neutral reader where your point of view will be in middle. Okay, so in this particular text also we are going to talk about this one, a dividing line that is known as the border of India and Pakistan. Okay, so before the 1947 partition, Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs lived side by side despite occasional conflict and violence. It's very true that okay, when we're living together, probably there will be some occasional problems. There will be some violences because in a society we have different types of people living together, but there is a kind of harmony between us, right? But the thing is that politically when you're politically mobilized or monitorized by some of the leaders or maybe uh, some foreigners, during the time foreigners were also responsible for this one, and also some other political leaders like Jinnah was there. Some other leaders were also responsible for that one partition because they needed power. They needed some kind of power into the political field. Because of that, they had divided the countries, and now everyone is suffering for that. Some people were supporting it, some people were not supporting it, but ultimately it happened. And the causes and consequences are in front of us, right? The partisans set such religious and cultural differences in stone, and families were forced to abandon their homes, moving to areas that were deemed safe for those of their religious belief. However, the resettlement process itself was filled with danger as extremist elements sought to take advantage of the chaos. Now, there are many political kind of ideologies you will find over here, but if I'm not going to talk about any particular political ideology that were those were very dangerous, or those were taking advantage of the chaos, because otherwise it will be again one-sided or biased discussion again. So that's why I'm not going to talk about any one of them. So it would be better if you will read yourself and understand that which of the political parties of the time were prevalent to take the advantage of the chaos. So anyway, however, the resettlement process itself was filled with the danger as extremist elements sought to take the advantage of the chaos. These ad hoc executions took place on foot, via cart, on crowded trains. I hope if you are a strong-hearted person, stone-hearted person, I will suggest you to watch the movie. If you will watch the movie, you will understand the. I can't express that one also. There is a scene where you will find that a train is there and the train is running, but no one is alive in that train. Only the lashes are there. Only the dead bodies are there. Okay. Anyway, if you are able to see or watch the movie, you can watch. As these refugees attempted to escape the violence, they would soon become caught up in the ongoing civil war between Hindus and Muslims. Although many refugees sought safety in the countryside, far away from the center of the violence, rural areas were filled with danger as well as tribal gangs targeted refugees. In all, it is estimated that almost 10 million people were relocated during the conflict. Of these, more than 1 million were killed in the violence and erupted during the resettlement process. Through this all, the trains continued to run, shuttling refugees along a dangerous path. The trains became targets themselves, as both the sides in the civil war saw them as an effective way of killing large numbers of refugees. They become known as the ghost trains or funeral trains. So this was the scenario of the time when the resettlement and relocation was happening between India and Pakistan, when they had set the divided line. The partition set the divided line that okay, this particular area belongs to India and that particular portion belongs to Pakistan, and there was a shuffling from one particular place to another particular place based on religion, creed, and culture. During that time, there were so many wolves, there are so many tigers, lions over there who were taking advantage of this kind of relocation process. And during the time of this relocation process, when the trains were going from one place to another, those trains were not filled with passengers, but with the dead bodies. And those trains were looking like ghost trains and funeral trains. Okay. Many villages, such as Mano Majra, is one of village near Punjab, where the majority of the novel takes place, relied on supply trains, and the train's arrivals and departures structured daily life in the villages. As the war progressed, the trains became more and more irregular and were often filled with more refugees than the small villages could handle. As the chaos in the center of the country increasingly reached the rural villages, fear crept into the villages and touched every aspect of their lives. So it was not only in the urban areas, it was not happening in the urban areas, it was also spreading like anything, spreading like corona, spreading like a bio war, a biological disease in such a galloping speed. So it touched every aspect of our life during that time. Okay. In Mano Mazra, life was still fairly peaceful and the village was religiously diverse with a population of Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and Christians. And this is really the beauty of our country, that we have multiple languages, we have many religions, and we're still living happily, peacefully. People in general don't have any problem with each other. If we are fighting because we are being provoked by the political leaders for their political gain, for their power mongerings, right? So that's what's happening. If there is any kind of chaos, there is obviously a political agenda. Even if it is today, even it was in 1947 or before that, without political agenda. If the entire country is suffering, there must be a kind of plan or hatch by a particular person. Hitler killed almost like 1 lakh or 10 lakh people. So only one person was responsible for a massacre, isn't that? So that's what happened. For hundreds of years, the village existed in a spirit of cooperation. Yeah, we were also living since 1947 after this partition. After that partition, we were also living in that, in that way, we are also peacefully living. But since the motives are changing based on politics, based on religion and other things, okay. So since then, we are also experiencing some kind of changes in the atmosphere, right? So for hundreds of years, the villages existed in a spirit of cooperation and the people relied on each other for their survival. The religious conflict taking place in the urban centers seemed a million miles away until the arrival of the first ghost train. Now see, repeatedly the writer has used the name of the trains as ghost trains because those trains were filled with dead bodies instead of alive persons. Okay. The train carries many corpses, and the villagers are overcome, is captivated by horror. A second train arrives soon afterwards, and with it more changes for the village. They are soon ordered by soldiers to help bury the dead before the start of monsoon season. So there were such a number of dead bodies that they were afraid that okay, whether we will be able to bury them before the monsoon arrives, right? So this is what was happening during that time. You can't even, get that kind of visualization if you are reading the particular textbook. You can have the visualization, but when we are having an overview, you won't be getting that kind of visualization. But I must suggest you to watch the movie once. If you have a leisure time, go and watch the movie. Soon the fragile peace among religions in the village is broken, as the Muslim citizens in the village are ordered to evacuate. During the time, Muslims were ordered to evacuate their villages because they had to shift from one place to another. That is, they have to go to Pakistan. Stripped of their belongings, families that have lived in Mano Mazra for generations are exiled with only the possessions they can carry. So they had to leave their houses, their cattle, their other, valuable things, their memories and everything. So whatever they can carry, they only can take those things. Otherwise, they have to leave everything over there. Although the Muslims suffer the brunt of the soldiers' authority, the soldiers have plans for the Sikh and Hindu populations as well. So it was not only the case for the Muslims that Muslims had to suffer a lot. Sikhs and Hindus had also suffered along with the Muslims. An attack is planned on the next train to Pakistan, and the Hindu and Sikh citizens are drafted into it. The soldiers will strafe the train with gunfire, and when people feel the train, the villagers will attack them and finish them off. Because when the villagers saw that trains after trains are coming with the dead bodies, and all of them probably are Muslims or Sikhs or Hindus, it's very normal that the people, those who are watching that scenario, will be infuriated, right? Will be raised upon those kind of activities or actions. So instead of responding towards that particular scenario, they reacted. They also attacked those trains. And this is how it started. The horror of this plan is emphasized when the villagers realize that this next train will not be carrying Muslim citizens, but people from their village. They are being ordered to attack their own friends and neighbors. One man, a Sikh thief named Jagga was a Sikh thief, is horrified to realize that his bride, to be a Muslim woman, will be on the train as well. In the face of this violent attack, the citizens of Mano Majra are forced to confront the beginnings of ethnic cleansing in their nation. Now see the brutal scenario that was going on during that time. They had a plan to ethnic cleansing. the total ethnicity should be cleaned out. That means there shouldn't be any kind of Muslims, there shouldn't be any kind of Hindus, there shouldn't be any kind of Sikhs. So they had a plan to clean everybody. Jagga, a man who has been complicit in violence in the past, is forced to decide if this is the time to take a stand, or if violence is now inevitable. The crisis of faith he experiences as he struggles to rise above the current climate of hatred and stand up for his friends and neighbors is the crux of the train to Pakistan. Train to Pakistan remains one of the seminal works dealing with the partition of India. So these are some of the, this was the, story of this particular Train to Pakistan. Train to Pakistan remains one of the seminal works dealing with the partition of India. So there are some major themes. That is one important theme is the title. It's the genre itself. That is partition literature. Then we have many themes and motives are also there. Bloodshed is one of the motive. Ghost train is one of the motive, right? Riots, religious biasness, all these things are reflected into this particular work, right? And explores the theme of love, religion, alliance. So these are some of the major themes that has been explored by Khushwant Singh through some of the characters, some of the narrators into this particular novel. Singh paints a picture of a village, Mano Majra, where no one is either pure evil or pure good. They're not pure evil, not pure good, because they are the prey of the time. They're the prey of the political agendas, right? They were forced to behave like that, in that order. Jagga, a deeply flawed man, represents the idea that during periods of religious and political conflict, people can choose to walk a different path even if the cost is high. So it was Jagga who represented, who was already a criminal, who was already a thief. He represented and expressed it that, okay, even if it is a very high time where the price is very high, we can choose the righteous path at the last moment. So this was the story of this particular novel, that is A Train to Pakistan, written by Khushwant Singh in 1956. I hope the story will mesmerize you. I hope the story will inspire you to read, realize, and also use these kind of experiences at your life. Not to be violent. Try to lead a simple life where everybody will have a harmonious life. Everybody has their own life. Everybody's life had their own values. No one can snatch your right. No one can snatch your parts of happiness. So we have to live happily, and we also have to believe that, okay, others will also be happy. If you're seeing that, okay, the people nearby is not having proper foods for 1 day, 2 days, please forward your helping hand, whatever you have. How much you are helping, how much you are sharing, that's not a big deal. The big deal is that you are sharing from your own part. That's the big thing. Okay. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are here. Yeah, we're listening.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone involved.
Now let's talk about the short story that we have over here. The quilt. It's a very short story. It's there maybe in your textbook. You can see it there as well. Probably the text should be given because it's a very short story. Okay. And let's talk about Ismail Chuktai. When I was in my masters, we had a also a short story about Ismail Chuktai because I also had a paper called Translation Studies. So there I got her name, and she was one of the prominent filmmaker as well at the time, and one of the feminist Urdu writer of that time. So Ismail Chuktai, who born in 1915 and she died in 1991, was an Indian Urdu novelist, short story writer, liberal humanist, and filmmaker. Beginning in the 1930s, she wrote extensively on themes including female sexuality. As I mentioned, that she is a feminist writer. She was a feminist writer. So themes including female sexuality, femininity, middle class gentility, and class conflict, often from a Marxist perspective. With a style characterized by literary realism. How many of you have any idea about literary realism or social realism? It's a theory, or you can say a literary term that when you are, structuring a plot, when you are uh, molding a story based on maybe a true or quasi-true story that has already happened, and maybe you have experienced it with your own eyes, or you have experienced it anyway, and you are narrating it in such a beautiful fictional, or in a very truthful way. That's what is known as social realism or literary realism, where we are trying to focus on the reality, what is happening around us. Okay. So Ismat Chugtai established herself as a significant voice in the Urdu literature of the 20th century. In most of the cases, she has talked about female sexuality and femininity. And in 1976 was awarded the Padma Shri by the government of India. And she had died 2 decades back. So Lihav is the title of the Urdu short story, which means the quilt. It is a 1942 Urdu short story. What has happened historically in 1942? Can anybody tell me? 1942 is the high time of the war, that is Second World War. And during this particular year, there was a movement called the Quit India movement. The Quit India movement, that is a movement for people who were fighting against the Britishers, right? The demand was to throw the Britishers from their own land. So it's a 1942 Urdu short story written by Ismat Chugtai, published in the Urdu literary journal Adab-e-Latif, right? It led to much controversy, uproar, and an obscenity trial where Ismat had to defend herself in the Lahore court. Lahore court. She was asked to apologize and refused, winning the case after her lawyer pointed out that the story makes no suggestion to a sexual act, and prosecution witness could not point out any obscene words. The story is merely suggestive and told from perspective of a small girl. Now the story is told from the point of view of a small girl, as we already know over here. And there was a kind of, banal tag for this particular short story, and she also had to go through a trial because of some, usage of some sexual words. Right now it's very common. People are using or accepting the Western culture, and we are using some, vulgar words very often. That has become now a culture. People are saying that if you're not using such kind of words, your brother, whatever, like your bro, if you're not using, that means you are not cultured. But during the time, all such kind of things were accepted as taboos, right? So sometimes also people had to go through trial. They had to face some court trials as well. And as it was a work and read by public throughout the world, so that's why she had to face such kind of trial. So the story is told from the point of view of a small girl who is in the niche of the protagonist Begum Jan. Have you ever heard of the word Begum Jan? There is a, I think there is not only one, but many movies are there in many languages. In Hindi, we have a movie Begum Jan. In Bengali as well, we have a movie Begum Jan. Right? So Begum Jan has had a very depressing life after marriage. Depressing life in the sense her husband, the Nawab, was much older than her and was thought to be extremely respectable for never having had any encounters with prostitutes. We also have a movie.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, we also have a movie on this one. I mentioned like in Hindi, we have a movie casted by Vidya Balan.
Yeah, Vidya Balan.
Yes. So you can also go through that movie. These movies are actually text based, so you won't get that kind of charm or actions as you got in Bahubali or KGF or other movies. So if you are interested to watch some short films, some art films, you can go through it, because when you are, have time, you can go through. Otherwise, you do not have to bother about that.
Sir, I've read about this story. I mean, I can see that it's more about lesbian relationship
Yeah.
and also gay relationship. So I believe that even her husband is a gay.
Mhm.
He's
Mhm.
into gay relationship because he was attracted to young boys.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Just a minute. Yeah, so Begumjan had a very depressing life after marriage, and her husband, the Nawab, was much older than her and was thought to be extremely respectable for never having had any encounters with prostitutes. So this was, uh, what can I say? Like, but it is soon revealed that it is because his interest lie in other gender. The lonely Begum starts to wither but is saved by Rabo.
Her maid, yeah. Rabo is her
Hmm,
maid.
yeah, and Rabo is a servant girl who is not so pretty but very deft with her hands. When the narrator is left at Begum Jan's place by her mother, she realizes that despite her past admiration of love for Begum Jan, there lie many secrets with her. At midnight, the great shadows formed by the quilt of Begum Jan and her odd behavior in the absence of Rabo bring to light their hidden relationship, traumatizing the narrator. Okay, the story is told from the point of view of a small girl who is the niece of the poet. I think this is the repetition of that one. Okay, so no need to read it again and again. And if you will go through the movie, let me tell you the story of the movie. So if you will go through the movie again, there is another part of another story has also been attached with that, and that is about again partition line, right? In that movie as well, you will get a partition line over there. So it is maybe in Amritsar or near Punjab where the movie has been uh, taken place, and the house where these people were living was in the mid of this divided line. So once they also had to go through such kind of struggle, and they had to fight, and they also themselves throw themselves, I think maybe thrown themselves into the fire when the people were coming to burn their house. So it's also a very short movie. You can go through and you can search it in your own language as well. It will be available, hopefully. The another text one is very important, and that text is little lengthy as well. So if you're reading the text, it will take more and more time. But if you are reading an overview, or if you are going through the themes and the characters, the main theme is untouchability, upper caste and lower caste system that we have, for which Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had a long fight in his life and career. That is untouchability. Untouchable means what? A person who cannot touch the upper class or socially this is untouchable. Okay. Have you ever gone through this particular novel, Untouchable? This is the first novel of Mulk Raj Anand. He has also written some other novels like Coolie. Coolie is also one of the greatest novel written by him. It's about an untouchable boy, or a Dalit, or you can say a boy who belongs to the lower caste, who used to clean people's dirt. So there's a very famous line in this particular novel where the narrator, because this novel has been narrated in third person omniscient point of view, so the narrator has said that, okay, I am dirt because I clean your dirt. Okay, so this is the famous or the cracks of this particular novel. You call me dirt because I clean your dirt. So there is a character called Vaka. So through her mouth, these lines had been uttered by the narrator. If I will say that, okay, who are the pillars of Indian English literature, then I must say that Mulk Raj Anand is one of them. There is a big trio. There's a big trio, and they are also known as the big trio of Indian English literature. One is Mulk Raj Anand, and then one is Raja Rao, and then we have R.K. Narayan. These three great novelists and story writers of Indian English literature are known as the big trio, because with the hands and with the writings of these particular people, Indian English literature has reached to the peak of success. So Mulk Raj Anand is also again an Indian writer in English, recognized for his depiction of the lives of poor caste in traditional Indian society. One of the pioneers of Indian Indo-Anglian fiction. He, together with R.K. Narayan, Ahmed Ali, and Raja Rao, was one of the first Indian-based writers in English to gain an international readership. Okay. Ahmed Ali is not called or part of this big trio because in the big trio only these three people are there: R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao, and Murkraj Anand. And this novel actually depicts the one day life of a character called Vaka. Vaka is a small girl who cleans the toilets and latrines of some upper class peoples, according to the writer. Okay, so the novel depicts a day in the life of a Vaka, a young woman who cleans latrines set in the fictional town of Bulands Sahar. Okay, Bulandsar. Vaka is a member of the lowest caste. Lowest caste. So before talking about this, I must say that okay, even if you are talking about untouchability, we must say about the caste system in India because in Western countries they have class system. They have upper class, lower class, middle class, and in the southern part of the Middle East countries we have race systems. Okay, so but in India or in the South Asian and eastern part of Asia, we have caste system, and this caste system has been divided into four parts. We have Brahmins, we have Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, and this four caste has been divided or categorized based on different parameters. And I hope that okay, this caste has been delineated in a particular book called Manusmriti, written by Manu, one of the maybe scholar in Hindu religion. He has written, and according to him, in that particular book, he has said that okay, the Brahmins are the main pillar of a society, and they have been descended from the head, the forehead of the Brahma, the creator of the world. Then we have Kshatriyas, those who maybe the warriors. They have been descended from the arms of Brahma. Vaishyas are from the thighs of Brahma because they are from the they belong to the business class, and the Sudras are the lowest caste because they have descended from the foot of Brahma. So that's why they have categorized, and we have this system according to some of the
Manu Shastram.
Yeah, according to that we have such kind of system in our caste system. So here we are talking about not about a Brahmin, not about because here the hero or the heroine of this particular novel is from a lowest caste, that is Sudra. Okay, so Vaka is a member of the lowest caste. Lowest caste people are confirmed to a life of dirt, labors of those higher caste people who don't like to even touch them. So if you are not able to touch a person, even though you have two hands, two legs, one head, and you exactly look like a man who belongs to an upper class family or upper caste, you are not supposed to touch, even though in not in a case that okay every day you are going to touch without any reason, but you are not supposed to touch even their day to day things that they are using. Suppose if you are going to take some water, because water is the one of the motive over here that has been delineated. If you are going to take some water from the wells which has been used by the upper caste, you will be beaten up maybe till death. Okay, so that's why you are not supposed to touch anything used by the upper class people. So lowest caste people are confirmed confined to a life of dirty labor of those higher caste people who don't like to even touch them. Vaka awakes to his father yelling at him, asking him to get out the bed and start cleaning the latrines of high caste people of the town. First, he cleans the latrine of a high caste athlete, Charat Singh. So Charat Singh was an athlete who tells him to get a hockey stick as a reward. The novel introduced Sohini as Vaka's sister, who goes to draw water for her thirsty and tired brother from the well, and the well belongs to the upper class people. So sadly, she had to wait for a long until a local temple priest assists and asks her to clean the temple. Then only she can draw water from the well, and she has to agree. If you're not going to clean the temple, if you're not going to wait until you clean, you won't be able to get a drop of water. So she was bound to clean the temple to get some water. Vaka again goes out to clean the streets and accidentally touches the high caste man, who is furious that he has been touched by a lower caste human. Was she really human? No, I don't think, according to this particular man. The man starts hitting Vaka until a Muslim vendor who breaks it up. Vaka walks to the temple where he finds that priest scolding Sohini of polluting him. Later, Sohini tells Vaka the priest sexually assaulted her. The priest who asked her to clean the temple sexually assaulted her. Vaka started wandering around town. I could have explained all these things in a very bitter way, but I'm not explaining. I do not want to hurt anyone's sentiments, because I could have used some of the lines from the text where the writer himself has used some very, you can say, like grandiose words and phrases to write back to the upper class. And because of this novel also, he had to suffer a lot in the beginning, because at that time this novel was not acceptable. This kind of stories were not acceptable. Anyway, so Vaka started wandering around the town, begging for food and performing household works in return. He comes back home telling his father about his day, about the high caste man who hit him, but his father makes him remind about the high caste doctor once saved Vaka's life. Even though that little boy was saying that, okay, no, this was the day and I had to suffer a lot because I touched unwillingly an upper caste man and I had to suffer a lot. But his father, even though he knows everything, he was consoling his son that, okay, even if you are blaming the upper caste, do remember that one day an upper caste doctor had saved your life. Vaka goes in the wedding of his friend's sister and tells him about that high caste man who hit him, and they ask Vaka if he wants to take revenge. But he refused as he knows it would be fruitless. Suddenly Vaka remembers his hockey stick and goes at Charat Singh's home to get it. Singh invites Vaka inside happily and allowed him to touch his possessions. After getting the hockey stick, he joins the game of street hockey and that quickly devolves into a brawl. Vaka's father is furious because he has been gone all afternoon without informing, so he throws him out of the house. Vaka started rowing away from home, taking shelter under a tree. The head of the local Salvation Army, a white man, Colonel Hutchinson, approaches him and invites Vaka to church. So Mulkraj Anand is not only talking about a story that is especially Indian. In this particular story, there is a touch of Muslim narrations. There is a touch of Christian narrations. There is a touch of Sikh narration as well. So Charat Singh is a person who is a Sikh. Then we had a person when the fight was going on. We had a person who break the fight. That person was a Muslim. Then now we have a Colonel Hutchinson approaches him and invites Waka to church. We also have temples over here. We have mandirs and everything. So it is talking. It's a kind of mixture of all the variety that we have in our culture that has been taken up. So not a single aspect of our society has been left out. He agrees, but Colonel's wife sees him and pitches a fit about her husband bringing another blackie to their church. Blackie means a person who is a black. Okay, so she was reacting like this. So Waka leaves and wanders some more, ending up at the train station where the crowd has gathered. Mahatma Gandhi is Bulasaha and takes the stage. So during the time, Mahatma Gandhi also was having a program near Bulasaha. His speech condemns the caste system and discrimination against lower caste untouchables. And maybe the term Harijan has been given by Mahatma Gandhi only. So afterward, Waka hears two high caste educated friends discussing the speech. One, a lawyer, finds the speech impractical, other, a poet, strongly disagrees. The thing is that two upper caste friends were talking about the speech that has been given by Mahatma Gandhi in Bulasaha, where he was talking about the caste system and the discrimination against the lower caste untouchables. So he was also fighting, but he was not a lifelong fighter of the upper caste and lower caste problems. It was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar who fought against these problems since the beginning of his career till the last breath. But about that speech only, two friends were there, upper caste or high caste educated friends were discussing, and one was a lawyer who was saying that okay, the speech was rubbish, it was impractical. But there was also a poet who was saying no, you are wrong. He completely disagreed with his friend, the lawyer. Waka also heard that the lawyer mentioned that flushes toilets will soon be brought to India and hence will no longer need the untouchables to clean it. That lawyer was also was educated and he had an idea that okay, because some Britishers are over here and they're using their own toilets, so maybe they have an idea that okay, soon we are also going to have toilets with flushes. And for that, we are no longer have the need of this lower caste to clean it. Waka quickly rushes home to tell his family what he has heard. He was very happy that okay, we are not supposed to do such kind of dirty works anymore. At the time of this novel's publication, the caste system dominated India, the author imploring the high caste raiders through his description of Waka and his family are suffering to consider the plight of their low caste countrymen. So this was the plot line of this particular novel with a happy ending because we do not have the need of such kind of man-made works or the works that has been done by a lower class complete class, and there is a kind of indication that okay, we are going to bring some machines or machineries or used some highly qualified technologies to do these works. Okay, so this was the good ending that has been given by R.K. Narayan into this particular novel. Okay. So I will highly suggest you to go through the summary chapter of each of these units so that you can get a cracks of chapter. And there would be some questions at the end of each of the units. So please go through that one as well, because those questions are very important. From those questions, you will get some questions in your exam paper as well.
Okay, sir.
Yes, and one more thing is that in the last class, I told you that, okay, I will share the notes of the last class.
Yes.
But the note was not in complete form. So that's why I didn't share. Today, I will share it. And let me confirm once the mobile number that I saved. Okay, let me stop my.
Okay, sir. I will send my phone number in chatting.
Just a minute. Let me confirm. The number ends with. Can you please tell me the number ends with?
028 PADLU.
Just a minute. 028.
Yes, sir.
Once.
Adelu.
028. Can you please share it once again in the chat box?
Okay.
Please share it. I will forward it with you and you forward it with your friends.
9440860.
Do you have WhatsApp in this number?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm sharing, sir. I am sharing in the chat.
Please do share.
Okay, sir. I have WhatsApp number. This is the WhatsApp number. You can send it to this. I will send to all the people.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good time. We'll meet again tomorrow in the same time.
Sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.